Welcome to today's 5-minute Bible study in the book of Hebrews. Today we're looking at the final paragraph of Hebrews chapter 3. That's in verses 16 through 19. Now, the last couple of sessions, we've seen that the author of Hebrews has been talking to us about the rebellion in the wilderness. After the children of Israel were delivered from Egypt, marched out a free people, yet they immediately began to waver in their unbelief, and they tested God. And we saw how first it was about the bread. We have no bread to eat, and God provided the manna. And then it was about the water. We have no water to drink in this wilderness area, and God provided water from the rock. But God said, you've tested and you've tried me. Their belief was wavering. And then there's a final part of that rebellion that he mentions now in chapter 3, verses 16 through 19. Who were they who rebelled? Were they not all those Moses led out of Egypt? And with whom was he angry for 40 years? Was it not with those who sinned, whose bodies perished in the wilderness? And to whom did God swear that they would never enter his rest, if not to those who disobeyed? So we see that they were not able to enter because of their unbelief. Makes it clear that the original generation who experienced the deliverance from Egypt and came out a free people were unable to enter their rest. He said they would never enter the rest of God because of their rebellion. Now what does he mean by the rest, entering the rest? Well, that's referring to the promised land. They were meant to enter into the promised land. That was to be their rest. That's what God had provided for them. They first went to Mount Sinai to receive the covenant. Then they were to go into the promised land and enter their rest. But they were not allowed to. And so for 40 years they wandered in the wilderness until that first generation died away. Their children would enter the promised land. Their children would enter the rest. Now, what was it about the rebellion that caused God to say, you will not enter the promised land. You will not enter the rest. You will die here in the wilderness. You will spend 40 years wandering. It was the rebellion that we see in Numbers chapter 13 and 14. So we're going to turn and look there at Numbers chapters 13 and 14. Now as you begin to read in Numbers chapter 13, Israel is ready, or they should have been ready, to enter into the promised land. They had already been to Mount Sinai, received the covenant, come into covenant with God, received the Ten Commandments. Now they're ready to enter into the promised land. And so before they go in to take possession, Moses sends 12 men to spy out the land, to reconnoiter the land, to look over it. There's 12 men who go, one from each of the tribes of Israel. And so they spend about 40 days journeying through the promised land. And then they come back, it's at the end of Numbers chapter 13, and give their report. And this is what we find in Numbers 13, verses 26 and following. So they came back to Moses, to Aaron, the whole Israelite community at Kadesh in the desert of Paran. And they reported to the whole assembly. They showed them the fruit of the land. They gave Moses this account. We went into the land to which you sent us. It does indeed flow with milk and honey, just as God promised. It does indeed flow with milk and honey. Here is the fruit. But the people who live there are powerful. The cities are fortified. They're very large. We even saw descendants of Anak there. The Amalekites live in the Negev. The Hittites, the Jebusites, the Amorites live in the hill country. The Canaanites live along the sea, along the Jordan River. Then Caleb silenced the people before Moses and said, we must go up and take possession of the land. We can certainly do it. But the men who had gone up with him said, we cannot attack those people. They're stronger than we are. They spread among the Israelites a bad report from the land they had explored. They said, the land we explored devours those who live in it. All of the people there that we saw are of great size. We saw the Nephilim there, the descendants of Anak, who came from the Nephilim. We seem like grasshoppers in our own eyes, and we look the same to them. So these men who have been sent out to spy the land came back with this report. The land indeed is wonderful and abundant, all God promised, but We can't take it. The people who live there are too powerful. There are giants in the land. They have fortified cities. There's no way we can take it. And they spread disbelief among the people. Now, 2 of the spies gave a minority report, Caleb and Joshua. They said, let's go up. We can take it. God is with us. But the other 10, they convinced the people that they could not take the land. And they fostered that sense of rebellion. And as you read into chapter 14, the people say, we can't take the land. We can't take the land. The people there are too powerful for us. They're too powerful for us. We can't take it. And so they disbelieved. And God said, since you did not believe, you will not possess the land. Now, in tomorrow's session, we'll look at chapter 14 and how God's judgment fell upon the people. But basically, he said, since you did not believe I could give you the land, you will not have it. You will spend 40 years in the wilderness. You see, their rebellion, their unbelief, and unbelief is sin, kept them from entering the rest of the promised land. What a sad day. That's what happened to Israel. And the author of Hebrews says it's a warning to us. We must always hold to our faith. Now, I've got more to say about this, so we'll look at chapter 14 in Numbers tomorrow to complete this section about their rebellion and how it is a warning for us. So join us next time for our 5-minute Bible study in the book of Hebrews.